guys, what's up and welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be about my everyday makeup routine. Now I do want to just clarify this really quick. I do not wear makeup every day. I do have days where I stay home and I just don't feel like putting on makeup, and I feel like it's good to give my skin a breath of fresh air, you know, and like keep all the gunky stuff off of the top of it. But if I do makeup, this is mostly what I do. But this is just my everyday like go-to if I don't have like an event to go to or like something fancy that I need to get ready for. If it's just more of like an everyday, like I want to look kind of put together. So yeah, let's just get into like. Okay, so I do not prime my face every day. I like try to, but sometimes I forget. But if I do prime my face, this is one of the primers I use, and it's the Seriously Shine Free Mattifying Oil Moisturizer by the Formula 10.0.6 brand. I know it's a moisturizer, but it also acts as a primer, so I'm getting both a moisturizer and a primer in one, and it mattifies, so I love that about this. So then I just rub this into my skin and make sure it's covering my face. Okay, so there are two foundations that I normally wear. I go between these typically, but I find that I wear the Maybelline Matte and Poreless foundation more than I wear the other one, and the other one is the CoverGirl Healthy Elixir foundation, but I do find that I wear this one more, so I'm going to do this one today. So the way I like to wear this foundation is I just dot it all over my face. I just find like this is easier, and this foundation doesn't dry quickly, so I just dot it all on my face. I typically switch between the makeup sponge I use each day just because I'm trying to try more out. But this is one of my favorites. It's the Morphe sponge. It's just this red one. I find it very comparable to the Beauty Blender. It's very like squishy and bouncy, and I think it just does a great job blending in my foundation. So I just use my sponge, whichever sponge it is, and I just blend the foundation in. And I bring it down on my neck a little bit because, again, I said that my foundation was too dark for my face, which is true. Typically, I do like a more fuller coverage foundation, and since this is like medium to full coverage, I tend to build it up more in the areas that I need more coverage, which typically is on my cheeks right here, just because I do get some redness and I usually have some acne right there. And then I build it up more on my chin. And these are usually the only two places I like to build it up. But since I do have a pimple on my forehead right here and one right here, I'm just going to build it up there as well. And then I just take the sponge again and I blend this in just to give a little more coverage. And this, for the second round, I tap less aggressively on those areas that I'm wanting to get more coverage. I just find that the less aggressive tapping does get more coverage on my skin, but also like it still sinks into the skin, but it covers up those blemishes more. Okay, and after that I go on to concealer, and I use this concealer every day. It is my favorite concealer. It is the Tarte Shape Tape concealer, and I have mine in the shade Light. Now I know this is a very full coverage concealer, but I am a full coverage kind of girl, so I love this concealer. And I actually just use a little bit in the inner corners, or not the inner corners, but like the inner corner part of my under eye, and then I do a dot on the outside, just a tiny dot, just because this concealer is like super full coverage. And then I like to swipe a little bit on my eyelids too, because I use this to prime my eyelids. And then I just take my sponge again and I blend the concealer out. I take it down first and then I go up the triangle and I blend it over here into the temple region. And then I just make sure to go under my eye to make sure there are no creases. And then I like to take it on top and press that as well onto my eyelid. And then I just do the same thing on the other side. Okay, and after that concealer is completely buffed out, I like to take my Coty Airspun Loose Face Powder. This is the powder that I've been using recently. I use this every day, so I just take that damp beauty blender on the other side that I didn't use the concealer on, and I dab the top of it into the powder, and then I press it underneath my eye, and then I blend it in. Now sometimes I will bake with this. Now for an everyday look, I usually don't bake just because ain't nobody got time for that on just an everyday basis. So I just normally don't. but you totally can. After that step, I take my favorite pressed powder in the world, which is the Rimmel Stay Matte pressed powder, and I take this and I just dust this all over my face. Just because I did use the loose powder on my under eyes, I take this powder, the pressed one, and I put it all over my face to make sure and set my face to make sure that my bronzer isn't like streaky or my blush isn't streaky, and just that my makeup goes on a little bit better. And after that step, I normally move on to the brows. So for brows recently, I have been using the LA Girl Shady Slim Brow Pencil in the shade Medium Brown. And I'm just gonna do my brows off camera really quick. After brows are done, I like to use the L'Oreal Brow Stylist Plumper to set these guys in place. So I just take this brow mascara and I run it through my brows just to make sure they stay all day. Now in my routine is normally the point where I would move on to eyes, but I don't always wear eye makeup on an everyday basis. If I do, I normally use the ColourPop Super Shock Shadow in the shade Waddles, and I just put this all over my lid or just in the crease. Or I use the LA Girl Eye Luxe Shadow in the shade Urban Eyes. It's this little palette right here. It just has all these shades that you kind of need just to create like an everyday look. I either use these two or I use my favorite Tarte palette, the In Bloom palette, and I just use lighter colors. I'm just going to use the ColourPop Super Shock Shadow in the shade Waddles, and I'm just going to put this all over my lid. This is just a beautiful, beautiful pink color. And because they are like a cream to powder type situation, I do like to use my finger to do this. I just find it's a lot easier to work with these ColourPop shadows this way. Okay, so once that shade is on, I move on to eyeliner. Now I don't do like a wing or something fancy every day. I normally just take my eyeliner and do a little line just to make my lash line look a little fuller. So the eyeliner I've been using recently to do that is the Limelight by Alcone Perfect Eyeliner Pen. So I just take this and I draw just a little bitty line really close to my lash line to make my lashes look a little fuller. So after that step, I move on to mascara. My favorite mascara is the Essence Volume Stylist Lash Extension Mascara, and I'm just going to coat my top and bottom lashes with this mascara. I tend to do my mascara very dark. That's just how I prefer it. I prefer very black mascara. That's just the way I tend to do it. Okay, so once mascara is done, I move on to the face. So my favorite bronzer in the entire world is Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer. I cannot stay away from this guy. It is my favorite thing in the world. So I like to just take this and I like to warm up the skin with it. For some random reason, my bronzer literally always looks patchy. And I don't know if it's like my brush, because I've tried different brushes and I've tried different bronzers, and no matter what I do, my bronzer always looks patchy. So I feel like it's just my skin. That's my consensus. It's my skin. Because it probably looks patchy right now, doesn't it? Now, typically on a day-to-day basis, I do not wear contour just because that's my personal preference. I don't like to contour my face every day, but sometimes, again, I will. It just depends, but normally I do not. So my next step in my routine is blush, and the blushes I use every single day are the Wet n Wild Color Icon blushes. These are the two shades that I go in between every day. So I either choose Rosé Champagne or Apricot in the middle. They look very, very similar, but the Rosé Champagne is just slightly lighter than the Apricot in the middle, and the Apricot in the middle is just slightly more apricot. But today I'm gonna go with the Rosé Champagne just because it is a little lighter and just because that's what I felt like doing. But these blushes are amazing, you guys. I love them so freaking much. They're so good and they're so inexpensive. It's like ridiculous. And then typically after I apply blush and bronzer, I like to go in with a brush just to make sure that it's blended together and that I don't have like an excess of product on my face. My next step in my routine is highlighter. Now this is the only thing that is constantly like changing for me in an everyday sense. I mean, I will get obsessed with a highlighter at one point and then I'll use it for many days in a row. But normally my highlighter is something I like to change up kind of every day. So it is the only thing that really changes from my day-to-day kind of makeup routine. So today I'm actually going to be using a newer highlight to my collection, and it is the Milani Strobe Light highlighter in the shade Afterglow. This is a beautiful, beautiful highlight and I'm completely obsessed with it. So I'm just going to take this and put it on the cheekbones. And even though this is like an everyday look for me, I tend to like a lot of highlighter every day, so I'm okay with it. So I typically don't wear a lip product like on an everyday basis, just because I'm normally wearing like sweats and a t-shirt and I feel like it's weird to have a lipstick on. I don't know, that's just me, I guess, maybe. I don't know if you guys feel the same way. But if I do put on a lip product, it's either a gloss or like a tinted chapstick. But these two have been the ones I've been going between recently, and this is the Chapstick Total Hydration Moisture Plus Tint in the shade Pink Nude. So it's basically just a chapstick that has a tiny bit of color to it, so I feel like it's okay for me to wear with my sweats and my t-shirt, and then I'm out the door. But I've really been loving this L'Oreal Color Reshine lipstick in the shade Glossy Fawn. This is a beautiful color and I have been wearing this. It doesn't look so harsh as a lipstick. It looks more kind of like a gloss, like Your Lips but better in a glossy form, if that makes sense. And I've really, really been loving this one. So this is the one I'm going to apply today. See, I just think it looks like an everyday, like a really good everyday lipstick. And guys, that completes everything for my everyday makeup routine. I don't typically set my face with a setting spray. I do on occasion, but I don't typically do it every day. That's another one of the things I forget, along with like a primer. If I do, I normally use the Milani Make It Last setting spray. But yeah, guys, that completes today's video. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked this my everyday makeup routine video, please give it a thumbs up. Please feel free to leave me any comments if you have any suggestions, any tips, any like makeup you want me to try out, or anything that you've been loving and any products that you use in your everyday makeup routine. Again, just thank you so much for watching. It really means a lot to me and I appreciate that you spent your time watching my video and hanging out with me for a little bit. So yeah, guys, I hope you are having a blessed day wherever you are, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!